So, can you please tell us something about your personal experience of transition? Some maybe some milestones along.
Okay. Well, I just first want to say what I think transition is. I have to start from that. For me, it's about the great turning. That I think that the most fundamental problems are to do with the biosphere, to do with the environment, and that they're the underlying cause of the crisis. It's not a temporary crisis; it's an emerging crisis, and so for me, transition is not just about transition to a peak oil society or transition to a different economy. It's a great turning to an entirely new way of living and coping through what's very likely to be a series of collapse scenarios all around the world. So for me, transition is about rebooting, totally shifting the way that we think. I was facilitating the session about the commons this morning, and the commons is a very important element in my work and my thinking. So, but just kind of looking back and looking at milestones in my experience or how I come to be here, I grew up in a family that was very green. We lived on very little money. My parents were artists, and we lived in a subsistence way. Partly, we grew food in the garden. We shared food with each other, other people in the village. We lived in this way that that was going out of fashion. Everybody else thought we were very strange. They were moving on to the lifestyle of everyone has a car, everyone, so they thought we were very strange. And now I feel that living like that is not strange anymore. It's fighting its way back. There are so many other milestones, but I think a key one for me was realising that I really don't work well in an institution which is against my ethics. I really can't.
Okay.
I really can't. Work full time, dedicated to an institution that doesn't that doesn't accord with my environmental values. So I left my job 6 years ago and started my own company, and we work in India and we work in the UK, and in other countries too. So the work that we're doing, really, especially working in India, is very a really very interesting transition. Country going through a transition to a very, very industrialized. It's gained a lot of wealth through industry, but at the same time, a recognition of the values that it long holds. So everywhere we're seeing this interesting tension between long-held values and a reawakening of those values. Resist and sort of breaking into the industrialized world that is destroying our environment.
So basically, making a transition into some sort of more wealthy world without actually getting crazy and environmentally unfriendly. That's what it is, a challenge.
Yes, and I believe that wealth doesn't equal the acquisition of money. Wealth equals well-being. It equals your health and your ability to have time to give to give to others and to give to your community or your home. So, for me, the great turning is about rehoming society. It's about making society or our world our home again, and yet not owning it. It's not. We don't own the planet. We can't own any of it. We just look after it for the future. So.
Yeah. Well, should I just move to the second question about Edgeriders?
Yeah.
How did you experience this event?
It's been really enjoyable. It's a fantastic community. I've found it a very diverse community. Actually, it's not. In many ways, it's a group of people that I feel are like my tribe, but it's also very diverse because people from different countries have such different perspectives. But also, there are many individuals who are countryless. They've lived in many countries. I really particularly like the way that the Edgeryders platform and the facilitators really appreciate our comments. It feels about appreciative inquiry. It's very much about building those personal links with each other and drawing out. It's a communal learning experience, but I'm also fairly critical too, because I feel that there's an analysis of the problem which is too much focusing on the economic and not looking enough at the broader environmental causes of the problems that young people are facing today.
So you feel like we're a bit formatted, basically, by this commodifying everything.
I think that there's that we tend to separate inquiries. We think there are sociological problems and economic problems and problems to do with law, but what we actually have is a problem of overuse of resources, conflict over resources, and the reduced the reducing. Sorry, I'm losing my. You have to cut this bit.
Yeah, but we're gonna edit it anyway,
Okay.
so you don't have to be.
Yeah. Okay. This is such kind of. I have to actually try and formulate my thoughts about this a bit more. Yeah. I think. I just to put it quite simply. For example, in North Africa, food is the problem. The food supply has just not been sorted out, and climate change is affecting the production and the price of food, and so if you try to solve problems by focusing only on people's needs for jobs and houses, you're not really helping people develop the means to thrive in their environment, because you're not understanding how the climate and how other planetary boundaries are affecting your ability to thrive in a place. So I think Edgeriders needs to be much more aware of that and to learn from the transition movement. So, the transition movement in the UK, which is much more about developing the means to thrive.
So it's just a different tradition of perception of transition.
Yeah. So that perception is, about local supply of food and resources and finding alternative currencies to so that you don't need to work for money as much. And there's a lot more to it as well, but those are core features.
Okay. So I don't know. We can just end here unless you want to add something else. But I know it's just a subject we can talk for ages, and then the guy's going to have a problem to edit it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, I haven't said much of what I've put on the platform, so I don't want to repeat the kind of thing that's on the platform. So
yeah. Thanks.
Okay, I hope it made sense and isn't just nonsense. It felt a little bit like...
No, it does make sense, but we're probably going to cut a little bit.